What up, what it do, everybody? Welcome back to Feed Me Tech. It's your boy Black Manager here. We got to talk about some things. So let's go ahead and dive into some of the news here. So the big news for today, Sony has removed Cyberpunk 2077 from the PlayStation Store. So no longer can users, or gamers I should say, log into their PlayStations, go to the PlayStation Store, and download Cyberpunk 2077. If you try to go there now, you will no longer see the link listed in the store. I believe the only way you can access Cyberpunk in the store is to have it actually saved to your wish list and be able to access it that way. But even then, it will only allow you to either add or remove from your wish list. So keep that one in mind there. So on top of that, like I said, they're delisting that from the PlayStation Store. So I personally think that's a great move. I think that needed to happen. You can't just keep selling people something that, just obviously doesn't work. On top of that, Sony has also said that they're going to be offering refunds for these users as well. So let's actually go ahead and look at the official statement here. So this is on the PlayStation website. They actually created an entire page for this one here. So Cyberpunk 2077 refunds. SIE strives to ensure a high level of customer satisfaction. Therefore, we will begin to offer a full refund for all gamers who have purchased Cyberpunk 2077 via the PlayStation Store. Sony will also be removing Cyberpunk 2077 from the PlayStation Store until further notice. So, wow, like I said, that's a bombshell there. So, think about this, right? They said until further notice. When do you guys think this game would ever make it back to the PlayStation Store? Like, seriously, if they don't expect the game to be finished until they released their two sets of patches early 2021, so that would be a patch in January and then a patch in February to fix most of these problems. Now, just thinking from a development perspective, they're probably going to release these patches towards the end of the months to give themselves as much time as possible. Now, with that being said, if you're expecting the game to be quote-unquote fixed by their standards, which who knows what that even means anymore, why couldn't you have just delayed the game? Why? Now, as we already know, CDPR made all of their money back from development on pre-orders alone, right? They made all their money back, so it would have been just as easy for them to go ahead and delay the game another year and still sell millions of copies. Now, with that being said, some of those pre-orders, including myself, were made online at the PlayStation Store, right? So I wonder how this is going to hurt their bottom line. It's definitely going to sting them, but think about how that's going to affect them. The potentially thousands of people who have pre-ordered the game on the PlayStation Store, and then the people who just bought it, within the first couple of days after release before they heard the news about what a terrible state the game was in on console. So I just think this is something that we need to think about, right? Why hasn't this happened before? What makes this unique and different now for Sony to go ahead and take this step? We've had multiple games that have released with big issues, whether that was attributed to internal issues at the company, development problems, or really just executives, like in this case, just seemingly not really caring about what they're giving their loyal communities. Really, I mean, the community that they built up and the reputation that they built up off of the Witcher franchise is completely destroyed now. So that's just one thing that I want to think about here, because games like Anthem, games like No Man's Sky, which I've seen talked about a lot, games like even Fallout 76, they've all had similar releases, but for different reasons, right? I think this has been the most highly anticipated game that's had a disappointing launch. So I'm not saying the most highly anticipated game. I'm not saying that this was more anticipated than Red Dead Redemption 2 or Grand Theft Auto 5. What I'm saying is that for a game that's had this level of anticipation for as long as it's been anticipated, has had the worst launch possible. The worst launch possible. So the point to where there's records being broken with what we're looking at right here on screen, where you can actually request a refund, which is out of the norm for PlayStation. If you have a PlayStation, you probably know, once you download the game, once you play the game, or once you stream the game, you are no longer allowed to get your refund for that game. So another thing to keep in mind there. So coming on the heels of this news here, we actually get another statement from CDPR talking about the decision that was made here. So following our discussion with PlayStation, a decision was made to temporarily suspend digital distribution of Cyberpunk 2077 on the PlayStation Store. You can still buy the physical versions of the game in brick and mortar stores and online. All purchased digital and physical copies of the game will continue to receive support and updates as we continue to improve your experience. And the part that kind of grinded my gears, according to our knowledge, starting today, everyone who is not willing to wait for the update and wants to refund their digital copy of the game can do so by submitting a request at blah, blah, blah. Everyone who is not willing to wait, look, man, if it was some small issues here and there, I'd be willing to wait. But the fact that I waited 8 years for your game, and then you gave us the game knowing that the game wasn't ready, knowing that you could have delayed the game, being on record stating that there was no external pressure to release the game when you released it. If people were already upset, right, about you delaying the game 3 times, what's a fourth? What's a fourth if you know the game's not where it needs to be? I really do feel sorry for all the developers here, because I know the developers are not the ones to blame. They're the ones who are going to have to go back and fix this. The developers aren't the one who said, hey, let's go ahead and release the game today. It's the executives at these companies. The executives need to be held more responsible. And I'm not sure exactly what it's like for these developers. I already know that they get put on crunch and they have a lot of these things that they have to deal with, so it's already not the best experience for a lot of developers, I know. But developers, maybe you guys need to start taking a stand too. I know this has to hurt you guys as well. You have people reaching out to you on Twitter, cussing you out, saying this, that, and the third, and it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's your boss's fault. The executives at these huge companies, not even just the AAA companies, because Hello Games for No Man's Sky was a 10-man operation, right? We need to start holding the leaders at these companies accountable for the BS that they do. And I think this is a great start here. So I wonder, is Microsoft going to follow suit here, right? Because if you remember, Microsoft actually was the one who had the deals with CDPR to promote their game. So if you remember, a lot of the huge marketing pushes for Cyberpunk was made by Microsoft. So they have a custom Cyberpunk Xbox One S, I'm pretty sure. They they always say, it'll play better on Xbox and all that other jargon there. But lo and behold, the game doesn't play well on any console. Even a lot of issues being noted for people playing on PCs. There's still bugs and crashes there as well. So although in the official statement you see from CDPR, some of these main outlets are talking primarily about the base console, so the PlayStation 4 base, Xbox One base consoles being the primary issues. Yes, they probably have a lot more issues, but as a person who's played this game on a next generation console, I can tell you that it's just a problem all around. One more thing I want to go ahead and dive into here. So, like we said, all these refunds being processed for Cyberpunk by Sony is going to definitely affect their bottom line. And there's actually a report about that just got released saying that CD Projekt founders lost over $1 billion due to Cyberpunk 2077's disastrous launch. That is crazy. You see what happens? You see what happens when you can't just be a decent human being. A decent human being by selling somebody something that works. Bro, that works. Imagine getting sold a cell phone that doesn't cut on. Cyberpunk 2077 cost CD Projekt's executives $1 billion thanks to its intensely buggy launch. Man, like, I really just don't know what to say. This is something that, like I said, has never really happened before. And it's interesting to see where the state of games in general and the business is going. We're starting, I really love what I'm seeing from gamers. We are really starting to hold them accountable. Now, I think this will potentially bleed over with cancel culture, which can be a slippery slope. But I think it's really good that we're banding together to start to hold them accountable for this stuff. I don't think No Man's Sky should have been given a chance by gamers later on because of how they did us the first time around. I'm a firm believer in not supporting these game companies when they do things like this. They don't deserve our respect or our money in these situations, okay? So I'm really glad that we're starting to get to the point where when games release like this, there's legislation being introduced. And that's, another conversation in its own. But, I'm just thinking back to like EA when they released Star Wars Battlefront 2 with the whole loot box situation and how big that was and how big the outrage and outcry was to that situation. And the way that bought on change within that game was really amazing. That's something that was also a first at the time. And I feel like we're taking another step in that direction. of starting to hold these companies accountable for what they do. I really don't have any words. Like I said, CD Projekt Red knew exactly what they were doing. Their investors, their executives knew exactly what kind of game they were giving us. They just didn't care, guys. They really just didn't care. So, me personally, like I've said before, I played the game on PlayStation 5, but due to a bunch of bugs and a series of crashes, like I said, I haven't been able to play the game for longer than 30 minutes at a time. I requested my refund, guys. I'll let you know how it goes, see if I get mine back. But hey, let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you think about this stuff. Let me know if you've played the game and have had similar buggy experiences, and if so, are you also planning on returning the game? I really want to know what you guys think, so let me go ahead and know in the comments below. Again, this has been Black Mantra with another episode of Feed Me Tech, and as usual, like and subscribe, and if you haven't told somebody you love them today, go ahead and take a second and let them know. As usual, appreciate you guys. Talk soon.